Welcome back and good morning to all. So, we have, I believe, 3 or 4 more classes to go, and now here we are entering to Unit 4. And basically, this is about how to conduct a research with the help of a questionnaire. So, generally, when we go with our questionnaire, we call it a survey, and that we already have discussed. Besides survey, what happens? It is with small uh, population, then it would be a kind of sample. Otherwise, it would be a kind of census. So that we're gonna discuss today. So I hope this screen is visible to all of you. So we're gonna discuss Unit 4, survey design, how to design a survey. And if you wish, I have written one book also on business research and business analytics. And Textman publication, they have published it. So whatever I'm teaching, I have taken from that book. So you can use that book for further reference. It's hardly of 200 pages, but it's covering your whole syllabus. That book I can recommend for you. And that book is basically on virtual form available, not in hard copy, so that you can access. So let us continue our discussion today. Welcome once again to all of you. Here you see very important thing, because if you are going for a job, you need to understand how to conduct a survey. If you are going for higher study, there also if you take a project, or if you go for PhD and MPhil, there also, because now a researcher, they go for primary data, and survey is a method which help you to collect primary data. Here you can see I will be fast today because we need to cover next 2 units in next 4 days, 4 lectures. So the main role of a survey is to collect information and data for analysis, enabling the researcher to make decisions or strategy. Surveys are of two types: sample survey and a census survey. Census survey is very common. I hope you remember in 2011, 2001, and 1991, each and every 10 year, after each and every year, 10 year, government of India go for this census survey, and in this each and everybody in India, they supposed to cover under this survey, and we collect information about them, their education, their family members, income, assets, everything we cover under that. So this is what a census survey. But census survey for an individual, it's gonna be a very difficult task. So what we do generally, instead of going for this kind of survey, we actually go for a sampling survey. Here you can see a sample, because if you go for uh, what you call census, it would be a very difficult task, because it's a time taking, and it would be a costly affair in terms of money. So generally, when we talk about researcher, they are collecting data. Uh, so that is basically a sample survey. So in most of the research, whether it's a MPhil, PhD, or other project, or some project related with different industry, in most of the research, it's not possible to collect information from each and every one or the entire population. I hope you understand. You cannot talk to each and everyone and collect information from each and everyone, except the census, which organized and conducted by government. So in general, when you think of a researcher, you and me, like you and me, we go for sample survey, not for census survey. So in most of the research, it's not possible to collect information from each and everyone or the entire population, because of cost, time, and efforts. A sample is taken instead of talking to each and everyone, getting information from each and everyone from a sample, from a population. What we do, we take a sample from the population, and then information and observations are collected from the sample respondents. I gave you one example here. For example, you want to collect information about the perception of students or teachers in Delhi University towards online teaching and learning. So, will it be possible for all of us to talk to each and every teacher or talk to every student in Delhi University? Let me see your reflection, what you say, yes or no. So, let me see your chat and let me see what you say. Will it be a possible? Is it easy to collect information from each and everyone? So Himani say no, because we have approximately 500,000 students, and I don't know whether it's a 10,000, more than 10,000 teacher. So it's gonna be a very difficult task to collect information from 500 student and 10,000 teacher. So what we will do, our whole population, because we are talking about Delhi University only, so the whole population would be a 5 lakh, and you cannot access and talk to each and everybody in 5 lakh numbers. So what we will do, instead of going to just 5 lakh student, uh, we can talk to few people, those who will represent the whole population, right? So here you can see a sample is taken from the population, and then information and observations are collected from the sample respondents. And it's easy when you collect information from a sample instead of talking to each and everyone in population. The reason is simple. Here you can see advantages of sample survey: less cost in terms of money and efforts, less time to collect information and data, and testing of whole population is not possible in many cases, like testing bulb. Like for example, you are manufacturing a bulb and you want to see the problem, or whether you want to see the quality of a bulb. So what are you gonna do? You will not test each and every bulb, but randomly you will select and will test that bulb, and on the basis of that you you will believe that other bulb will also perform the way this particular bulb has performed. And then when you go for sample survey, it would be very easy for you. Basically, you are predicting, forecasting about sample, but actually when you use statistical tools, you generalize it in the sense that it represents the whole population. You are working on a sample, but the representation could be about the whole population. So that is the beauty of a statistical tools and techniques, that you collect information from sample, but you are giving result in terms of a population, and that would be a generalization of research outcome. And this is a quick process, generates result immediately. If you go to the whole census, whole population, it would not be easy for you to collect information from each and every individual in a population, and it would be a very lengthy process, very lengthy process. So instant you go to, as I had taken an example of Delhi University student and teacher. So instead of talking to each and every student, and total population of student is approximately 500,000, that is a 5 lakh student. So what do you do? You take a sample, maybe you select 500 students sample size, and 500 I believe would be an easy thing for you. So instead of going and talk to 500,000, 5 lakh students. So on the one side we have sample, on the other side we have census survey. Collecting information from all units of the population is called census survey. Now you might have seen that every 10 year, each and every 10 year, it's a responsibility of a government or government organization to collect information from each and every individual in India. So census is mostly done by government to collect information regarding demographic, socio-economic, and cultural variables and dimensions. So they collect information that what kind of assets you have. Do you have pakka makan, kacha makan? What is the source of income? Is it agriculture, business, or some service? How many children you have? Which class they study? Your education, your income, right? So a lot of question they ask when they come to you, and it's mandatory for them to go and talk to each and everybody in India and collect their information. Now, IIT Delhi, they have one project called Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. So they collaborated with a lot of colleges in India, private and government colleges, and requested them to adopt 5 villages. And once you have adopted 5 villages, they give you a questionnaire, a one survey to conduct. And they say that it would be really good if you go and talk to each and everyone in these 5 villages, but it's not feasible, it's not possible to collect information from all individuals in these 5 villages. So they say that try to collect maximum information, try to capture maximum population in these 5 villages. So we go with our student, we stay in these villages and go and talk to each and every person in this village. Few people they say that they are not interested to give information. It's absolutely fine. So on the one side, people are not ready to give information. On the other side, we have our limitation that we cannot stay for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, and we cannot access to all villagers or farmers in a village. Right? They will have objection. They may not give information. We have our limitation in terms of money and time. So that is the another way. A lot of organization now collaborating with schools and colleges, and these colleges and schools are at different places. So centered organization decentralize this process to local bodies, maybe in district, maybe in villages, maybe in cities, and then further these organizations like school and colleges collect information. So when we go to this area, we understand what kind of culture they have, what kind of demographic, socio-economic dimensions they have. So I remember in one village, uh, half of the village used to sleep during daytime and half of the villagers used to sleep during night time. So I asked why this is so. So they say that next to our village is a forest area. So anytime the animals they come out from the jungle, and there was one animal, I don't know whether it's a nilgai or someone else. It used to come and used to collapse all agriculture field. So they say that we make a machan, and during night also half of the farmers, half of the villages, they stay vigilant, right? So this is what still in 21st century we face this kind of challenges. So they say that we don't know what to do with this. This is a big trouble, big problem. So this is another cultural dimension that you need to stay. You can't sleep. Half of the population of a village can't sleep during night. So this is because of that particular belief. As far as the advantages of census is concerned, there is no sampling error, no need of estimation, sources of other sample research. So whatever you collect, now it's a big data, huge data, all possible dimensions of household, all possible dimension of culture, all possible dimension of socio-economic development in a city, in a town, in a village, not only in a city, town, village, in a state, and finally it representing the whole nation. So whatever data you collect, it is there in public domain. So as a researcher, you can use this data for further research. So now you have a sources for your work, and you can use that data for further process or further research. And it actually, because it is all about whole economy in terms of culture, in terms of demographic profile, demographic variable, so you can make a comparison between your country population and other country population in terms of socio-economic, culture, and other demographic variables. And this also give you some kind of trends, pattern, that in past 5 decade, 4 decade, 3 decades, what kind of growth, what kind of development has been done in our country, maybe in terms of socio-economic development, maybe in terms of other variables. So this data actually not only help you to compare yourself with other country, but gave you some kind of understanding that up to what extent you have grown, you have developed your country in terms of economic development, socio-economic development, and other variables. So basically, it's a detailed survey. It's a detailed study of different variables in a particular nation. Now comes to, so this is sample survey and census survey. Now let us see that how we can go about this survey design, what we need to do. So here you see what you need to do, why the data is needed. First question should be there in your mind, that why we do this kind of information, why do we need this kind of data. So generally, uh, either you are going to get some info, some project from government. For example, I got one project on women development, women entrepreneurs, those who have prepared fund under Mudra Yojana, right? So I wanted to understand, this is basically ICSSR project, to understand up to what extent the women entrepreneur, uh, they they have, if they have received some kind of funding from government under Mudra Yojana, then how did they use this, right? So is there any socio-economic development because of that Mudra loan, right? Or these women, those who are entrepreneur, they have used this for some other purpose, not for further production or not for the entrepreneurial activities. So I wanted to study the socio-economic development of a woman entrepreneur with the help of this particular Mudra loan. So we have gone through approximately 300 women in NCR and collected data from them. So first, why the data is needed? The main purpose was we want to study the women empowerment, women socio-economic development because of Mudra loan. What information you needed? So information would be needed in terms of money, that how much money they have been earning, in social, what kind of say they have, right? How many family members they have, what kind of income they have. So lot of variables, lot of things, we information we collected. And how important the information is. So this information, is it really important for your survey, or like a census, you are collecting information because you have some measurements, some parameter you're supposed to collect, and further people will be using it. How the information will be used? So this information would be in terms of quantitative data, or a qualitative information. If it is a quantitative information, then with the help of statistical tool and techniques with methods, you can analyze it and make it statistical significant. So why a survey is needed to obtain the information? So is it the right method only that you go and conduct some survey, or there could be other method also to collect the information? What kind of relationship is needed in terms of cost and accuracy? So if cost is higher, you gotta incur high cost, then obviously you would like to have 100% accuracy or good accuracy. The population for which information is required, so which population you are targeting, So today we'll talk about sampling frame, population, universe, sampling unit, because this all are somewhere, talking about survey. When you conduct a survey, you must know sampling frame, also sampling population, universe. It actually help because as a researcher, now you're supposed to use some technical terms, and these all are technical terms as far as population, sampling frame, sample size is concerned, sampling methods is concerned. So that we are going to discuss today. So the design of survey. So we have two kind of sampling basically, as far as how to decide that who you would be surveying. So we have two methods. One is probability survey and another is non-probability survey or sampling. The form of data collection, how you will collect data, will it be through observation? Will it be through some software? Will it be through individual who will go and collect data, right? Or will it be in the form of interview? So now here you see, um, if you want to conduct a survey, then how to operationalize it? So remember, survey is a very important method because it give you data. So here you see the development of most survey follow the same operation. This kind of surveys serve very specific objectives like association. So when you collect data, you actually want to see the association between two or more variables or between two or more events, relationship between two variables or events, and impact of one impact or variable on other variable or impact or the event, right? Sometimes research projects are sponsored by government or private organization to check the impact of policy or to introduce changes in the existing options. So if you want to make a survey that do we need to continue online teaching or learning, or student they actually like online teaching and learning, or they like offline teaching and learning. So it may be you take a government project from ICSSR, DST, or maybe from UGC University Grant Commission. So every year these organizations invite application under different schemes to conduct a survey and give some kind of information to government, and then government finally can use it for policy decision making or for different strategies. Now, good thing about this government project is, mm, they select professor, teacher, and student to help them conduct this survey, right, everybody? So this is a great opportunity for you and me, because a lot of organization they trust us, they believe in us, and they know that teacher and student they are very respected loyal people. So they will not be a bias, and they understand research, they understand tools and techniques, they understand the statistics, so they can give us the right kind of information. So universities and educational institutes also perform research work on the basis of research gap to contribute to the existing knowledge. So generally, when you do your PhD or MPhil, what you are doing actually, you are finding out some kind of gap, that some review of literature, if you go through some review of literature, they give you idea that okay, this kind of research has been conducted, but still this kind of research is never ever conducted, never ever done. So they are giving you some idea that okay, because of some limitation, because of some issue, because of some problem, this kind of research has been conducted earlier, but nobody in India, especially, maybe in terms of qualitative or quantitative, maybe in terms of sample size, maybe in some other variable, there was a limitation. So, lot of researchers they were not able to contribute research in these terms, in these variables or description. So maybe in future others can find out this kind of variable, can use this kind of information and further go for research. So this kind of idea, this kind of research gap actually contribute to the existing knowledge, because it's your responsibility to carry forward what has not been done earlier on the basis of limitation, whatever limitation on the basis of different dimensions, variable or limitation, if they were not able to contribute to the existing knowledge, now this is your responsibility, because we all are consumer of knowledge. We use knowledge, but what about value addition to existing knowledge? So this is our responsibility as a researcher, that yes, we are using data, we are using information, we are consuming information, but who will generate information? So with the help of this research or survey, what you can do, you can contribute to existing knowledge, that whatever research has been conducted till today, they had this kind of limitation within, because of limitation they had this kind of perception or opinion. Now we go one step ahead, and now we see in India, or maybe in this particular community, what would be the response? Will response remain same, or response would be different? So here what you are doing, you are contributing to the existing knowledge. So here we have some steps you can see when you think of survey operations. First, data user. uh, First you need to consult with the data user, that what they are looking for. So, for example, we want to see in an organization that there is a one issue, that employees turnover is very high, and as a manager, as a GM or HRM manager, I want to know, I want to collect information about all employees, that what persuade them to leave the organization. So I am the data user. Whatever data I will collect, I will use to make a policy, that so that employees turnover would be low in the organization. So then we have to go plan that how to go about it. Survey developing a survey, sampling design, who would be our respondent, should I go to each and every employee and collect the information, right? That would be a sampling design. Collect, analyze information, and then tell that the because of this issue employees are leaving our organization. Now, very quickly, because I'm not going to discuss this in detail, I hope you understand, because we already have discussed research methodology, research process. So this is similar like a research process, except that here we have a survey development, and this all process we have discussed in our research design. Now comes to more technical term, what is population? So population is, it depends on description of a project, or a problem of a project, or a objective of a problem, objective of a research. So according to David, a population can be defined as the set of all objects. So all objects, for example, population can be defined set of all objects that possess some common set of characteristics with respect to a research problem. So we want to see how COVID has affected the learning process in Delhi University. So who learn in Delhi University? Students. So they have this common characteristics, common set of characteristics. They all are here in Delhi University to learn. So we will collect information about them, right? So student of Delhi University would be the population of our research. If all the respondents in a population are asked to provide information, such as survey is called a census. So if we conduct a kind of survey where we are collecting from all 500,000 5 lakh student, then it would be a kind of census. That would be a kind of census, because we are covering each and everyone. But this is not feasible, this is not feasible. So now you understand what is our population, right? Here you can further define it in universal population. From a statistical point of view, the term universe refers to the total of the items or unit in any field of inquiry, whereas the term population refers to the total of items about which information is desired, right? So here it's about each and every individual, and population is in total how many individuals are there, right? Total of items. The attributes that are the object of the study are referred to as the characteristics, right? And the unit possessing them are called elementary units. The aggregate of such unit is generally described as population. The population or inverse can be finite or infinite. So generally it's a infinite when you think of basically maybe it is like finite, but generally it's a infinite because you never know. For example, how many customer you had in a bank at particular point of time when you're conducting a research. It would be very difficult for you because some customer they haven't used bank account for last 5 6 years, right? So you don't know whether they are now they are still customer or not. Some people they are joining us on a day, they are opening their account. Some individual they are closing their account. So many time it becomes very difficult for you on a particular day or a particular period that what is that finite number, right? So it's varying. So at particular day or particular month it would be very difficult for all of us to understand the exact information, exact number. So that's why we call it infinite. It keep on changing. Then out of that population, what is our responsibility? The target population concretely specified large group of many cases from which a researcher draw a sample and to which result from the sample are generalized. Now from the whole population of a student in Delhi University, uh, who would be your target student? Because here we are talking about MCOM. So maybe you would be interested to collect information those who are in management, commerce or economics. So instead of going and talking to all 500,000 students, they may be in science, they may be in art, humanity or other social sciences. So what you will be doing, you will be collecting information from uh, target population. Target population here would be those who are studying BCom or BCom honors or MCom, right? So here we need to draw a sample from those who are studying MCom, BCom or BCom honors. The target population for a school can be defined as all household with students living in Delhi. Right? There are main three limitation of this definition. First, how to define student. Second, how to define Delhi. And third, who is the household will provide, who in the household will provide information. So here you see in a population you can define that all population of Delhi, right? Student of Delhi. But how do you define students? Which student you are talking about? Are you talking about PhD student? Are you talking about master class student? Are you talking about college student, school student? In school also you have primary, middle, secondary, senior secondary, right? So which student you are talking about? So if you clarify this, if you define who you talking about, so that will give you a more clear picture and that will become your target uh, population, right? So you have whole population, then define your target population, and then for example we have in my own college we have 5,000 students including my college. um with 5,000 you want to conduct a research. So generally students are recognized by their ID number, roll number. That roll number issued by college or enrollment number. When they get admission, university issue them an enrollment number. And one thing you remember, once you got an enrollment number, that enrollment number would be a unique number and would remain same for next how long you are there for higher study, maybe a PhD. So that enrollment number remain same until unless you shift to other university or college. So that number ID, which give you some kind of recognition, roll number, like it is actually, so roll number wise, if you define that these are different roll number of students, so all information roll number wise, not all information, but your name and your ID. So that ID would be unique. So if you click on ID, it give you other information about individual. So with that, we can select that, okay, roll number 1, roll number 5, roll number this. So now we can identify. We can put them in some order, that from 1 to 10, some order, right? So this is what, like, or maybe another example, bank account number, right? It would be a very unique number, and with the bank number, you can identify who is the person. So that account number, roll number, these are numbers through which you can identify or divide the whole population in a systematic way. And so this information, when you give some number, ID number, bank number, roll number, and you have whole population with you with some ID, it's called population frame. It's a basically list of all the elements of the population, like a list of all the students of a university. So listing would be in college or university, that would be in terms of roll number or enrollment number, right? And in bank, it's a bank account number. I hope you now clear to all of you, population frame. So it is a complete, let us just wait for 2 minutes. Okay, so it is a complete and correct list of population members, only for example of list of magazine subscribes in India. So when you subscribe a number list magazine, so you get some code or you get some number or a reference number, right? So if you want to communicate further, you need to mention that reference number. So that is the unique number. With that, they can identify who you are, right? So this is, I hope, clear. This is for further analysis. You need to, put some in format, standardized format. So now we'll have a list of people. So after population frame, now we have sample. Sorry. Sample is a subset of population which represent the population. So it is representing the whole population. Then we have subject. Subject is a single respondent of the sample. So any single student in Delhi University will be a subject of the study. Now, why we go for sampling? We already have discussed that it would be very difficult for all of us to collect information from the whole population. So practically it is impossible to collect data from all elements or respondents. The reason, at particular point of time, you never know what would be the exact number of student in the university. Maybe they are leaving, maybe they are not very active, maybe very passive. Same thing with the account number, right? So it would be very difficult. So you don't have that particular information, so you cannot collect and it's a time consuming, money consuming, right? So it's really practically very difficult to collect information from all. Sampling minimize the cost, time and human resources, that is very much clear with the discussion. And impossible to test all element of population like testing bulb. So if you test each and every bulb, what will happen? You will not have any production, you would be only in testing the bulbs. So better don't test all the bulbs, just randomly select few and test, and then it will give you some kind of surety that others bulb would be performing the way they have been. And for greater accuracy of result, basically if you have true representation of a population, then your sample would behave like a population. We assume like that your sample will behave like a population. And when you have this kind of sample, easily you can process it. And now you have a software. That software actually help us to analyze the information quickly. So if you have sample, you can go for it, and you have standardized tools and techniques, and you have a guidelines, you have principle to use the data, how much sample size would be required, every information is given. Now let us further move about this sampling process. The steps of sampling process are: determine the target population. Who is your target population? Determining the sampling frame. Now you understand sampling frame: number, roll number, bank account number. Selecting a sampling procedure. Which sampling procedure? Random, non-random, or probability or non-probability sampling method, right? Then determine the relevant sample size, whether it's 100, 30, 400, 300, that we already have discussed, that it should be minimum 300. And then collect data, and then collection from respondent and information for decision making. So here you see this. How we gonna use this? How we gonna go for sampling process? First, determine the target population, determining the sampling frame, selecting a sampling procedure, probability sampling, non-probability sampling, then determine the relevant sampling size, data collection, collect data from them and use it for information and decision making. So basically, I'm not going to discuss in detail, but here two things are very important, that we need to understand probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So there are two types of sampling techniques. First is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. I'm sorry, I'm going a bit fast today, because in next three classes we have to complete your syllabus also. So please pay attention, and please be vigilant and try to understand what we are discussing today. At the end, you can ask questions. So first we go for probability sampling. The main purpose of the sampling is quantitative research. In this, basically we collect quantitative information, do a quantitative research, and basically to generalize its result to the entire population. So as I said, that the beauty of a statistical tool of research design is this, that you collect sample from limited people, but you represent it that the population would be also behaving in the same way like our sample has done, right? So this is why this is so, because you are using systematic way of conducting a research. What should be the sample size, who should be the target sample, so population, what sampling method you have used, right? So if you go through a scientific way or systematic way of conducting a research, then easily you can predict that whatever your sample is reflecting on, same thing would be reflecting through the population. So here you should not waste your money, effort or time to go and talk to each and everyone in the population. Rather, instead you go to sample, collect sample, and then conduct a research, and it would be equivalent to the research which you need to conduct on population. So a precise, why we are going for probability? The reason is simple. You can see here, a precise sampling procedure is required to create representative samples. This procedure is based on the mathematics of probability and hence is called probability sampling. Probability sampling, right? So this procedure is based on probability. The probability, an event occurring by chance, that is probability. What is the chance of that particular event uh, would be occurring? So that we know little bit probability. This is by chance. What is this probability sampling? Here you see different methods of probability sampling. First, simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, and then multi-stage sampling. So start with first simple random sampling. In this method of sampling, each and every member of the population has an equal and independent opportunity of being selected. So this is the beauty of this simple random sampling, that everybody in the same population got a chance, will have equal chance to get selected. So sample elected from a population in such a manner that each combination of element has the same chance or probability of being selected as every other combination. Now simple random sampling begins with selecting sampling frame. So you need to have some sampling frame, as I mentioned. If you talk about a student, how you will identify a student, that would be on the basis of enrollment number, exam number, or college roll number, right? So it's a kind of table of number. So you select randomly. So how you select a randomly? Now we have www.random.com. So in that you put that we have these many students. For example, in my college we have 5,000 students, and you want a sample size of 300. So, and on the one side we have roll number wise student name. So when you put this, it will give you a number, that these all numbers are selected by computer itself, and these are these are simple random sampling numbers. So it is generated by computer itself. Very simple technique. Very simple. Okay, same example you can see here. If a researcher is interested in selecting 500 students from a list of 5,000 students of a college, and this list is generated in Excel sheet, then use RAND function. So you can do it in Excel sheet also, right? To generate a list of first 500 random numbers. So these methods give every set of 500 students in the population an equal chance of being selected in the sample. I hope this is clear to all of you. Otherwise you have random.com also, so it's clear. And you have table also. When you read a statistics books, at the end you will see a simple random what you call table. That number also you can use for this simple random. Now we have systematic sampling. In this method, the element of the population is arranged in some order, name of the student in alphabetical order, or it involves random start from a number between 1 to 20, which is the first k element, and then move constantly with every kth element from that point onwards. So you have, for example, now you have a sampling frame, and then go for 5th, 10th, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, like this on, right? So on and so forth. So we'll continue with systematic sampling. Just let us take for 5-minute break, then we'll continue. Okay, everybody. So now I hope systematic sampling is clear to all of you. This basically continue with the last example of 500 students from a list of 5,000 students in increasing or decreasing order. So here you can see we have to select 500 out of 5,000. So 10th number, every 10th would you can select randomly, right? First randomly select account number, right? So first maybe here in this, first suppose randomly you select 2. So after 2, 12, 22, something like that. So in systematic sampling, only the first unit is selected randomly, and then the remaining unit of the sample are selected at the fixed interval. So this is basically a systematic. So first maybe 5, 6, 7, right? Whatever you select. The next would be constantly you move further with the gap of 10. But in this you should have sampling frame where you have roll number or enrollment number or bank account number if you are collecting data from bank customer. So it should be in some order, maybe increasing or decreasing. Then we have stratified sampling. Stratified sampling involves dividing the population into homogeneous group, each group containing subjects with similar character. You remember I had given you example of village. I visited a village, and there, fortunately, unfortunately, they say that upper caste people live in this 3 or 4 state, then go a bit ahead. The lower caste people, they live here in these villages. On the basis of caste, the whole village is divided. Right? So each group containing subjects with similar characteristics. The population from which sample is taken consists of a number of heterogeneous group. So here we have strata of upper caste, middle caste and lower caste. Right? So this is basically a, we have subgroup of on the basis of caste in a village. The whole population can be divided based on the grade. Here we have another example: grade, exceptionally good, best and good. Right? So this may be the another dimension or criteria. Randomly select 166 from each subgroup to make a sample of 500. Right? Here equal number of representation from each subgroup will make the sample fewer representative, which is called non-proportional, right? Stratified. So generally we do, here we do proportionately collect information so that we have a equal representation. I hope you understand what I am talking about. So if I collect 166 from each group, it would be a non-proportional stratified, right? Because the population is subgroup is not the same. If researchers select subgroup sample in proportionate to their size in the population, which is called proportional stratified sampling. Cluster sampling, then I had given you another example. So stratified I had given you from village, cluster I had given you from metropolitan city like Delhi, Mumbai, where we have apartments, flats, and you have multi-story apartments in Mumbai and Delhi, and you don't know who would be in first floor, who would be in second floor, right? Any caste, any religion. So different religion, different people can come and stay in these apartments, multi-story apartments. So here you have a mix of people. So in stratified random sampling, there is a homogeneity within each group and heterogeneity across group. But in cluster, sample offers more heterogeneity within group and more homogeneity among groups. So if the size of a population is big or dispersed over a wide geographical region, then divide it into small number of non-overlapping groups, then randomly select a sample of these small areas called clusters. In summary, randomly sample a few clusters and measure all units within that cluster instead of all individual elements. The variability of the sample will depend on the variability between the cluster. In case where population size is big and collecting simple random sampling process administrative problems. For example, suppose researcher want to make survey on the student fitness of Delhi University, it would be difficult to select all students and test their fitness level. So by cluster sampling, researcher can select a specific number of colleges and test all the students of those colleges. Next we have multi-stage sampling. All our four method of probability sampling are example of single stage sampling method. Researcher can combine all these single stage methods as per the need to conduct multi-stage sampling. This multi-stage sampling is used when population is spread widely in large geographical area like whole country, and it is not easy make inquiry with single stage design. Suppose researcher want to investigate the IQ level of all students studying in university in India. Now the university in the metropolitan, universities in rural or maybe a semi-urban area, over there you will see the learning process, the infrastructure, maybe student getting grades, maybe their presentation, right? Somewhere you will see some kind of difference, and it's really having some kind of relationship with their IQ. Hmm. So first, stratify the population of students in different states of the country. Then stratify center university, state university, and deemed university, and then select a random sample of university within these strata. So you can have any process. Further, you can divide and use different techniques of sampling, right? And here you see select few university as cluster and randomly consider some of these for study. So this is a probability sampling. Basically we use for statistical tools and techniques. So whenever you go for statistical tools and techniques using in your research, you need to go for probability sampling. Now we have non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling, in case where probability of each case being selected from the population is not known and it is impossible, the non-probability sampling design provides a range of alternative methods to select samples or subjective judgment. This type of design is used when the number of elements in a population is not known or cannot be identified individually. So the cost and efforts in developing sampling design is eliminated. So is the precision. The result contains bias which cannot be minimized by increasing sample size. So here it would be not very precious that clearly the information would be collecting. Here we would be a bit biased, right? Precision is not possible here. So we have few methods you can see. Non-probability method. First is convenience. Second, purposive or judgment sampling. Third is quota sampling, and last is snowball sampling. First, convenience sampling, you can see this is also known as accidental or opportunity sampling. Get any cases in any manner that is convenient. That is totally up to you. Unit or cases in the samples are selected without any principle of probability of being selected. So you can select anyone as per your convenience. No method, no simple rendering, no other method to get information immediately without any cost. Convenience sampling is used where the method is simple to contact. Sample units that are convenient to captive audience approach, like a student for a teacher, a patient for a doctor, and women at shopping mall center, friends and relatives. So no systematic way. Then we have purposive or judgment sampling. In this, what happens? Researchers can involve participants on the basis of his expertise or judgment to provide desired information. So if I am collecting data from those who have bank account, so I can judge better than anyone else that these many people they every day come to bank because they are not happy with the services. So every day they come here and fight with the banker. So maybe you can have a study where you want you want to know that up to what extent uh, the customer bank customer are not happy, are not satisfied. So purposely here you are talking to those who always make a complaint, right? And they are not happy with the bank services. So researcher can involve participant on the basis of the expertise or judgment to provide desired information. A sample is selected for a particular purpose. A very specific target group of people are selected because they possess very specific information, and validity of the information is dependent on the judgment of the investigator, and they satisfy the criteria set by the researcher. The investigator is very much familiar with the problem or subject matter, although the findings are still not generalizable to the overall population. So this is a one limitation whenever you go for purposes or judgmental or convenience. because it was totally biased. It was on the basis of your own judgment. So can you know generalize whatever you feel? You cannot, until unless you go through a systematic way of collecting information. So this is not a systematic way. It is basically, you know, someone, you know, he or she is the right person who should give a information, and so it would be a kind of biased information. Then we have quota sampling. The quota sampling is based on subgroups such as demographic data, as education, income, gender, age, and location. The process of quota sampling begins with making of stratified sampling, in which a significant characteristics strata or demographic profile of population is selected. So we can select a particular population on the basis of income, or maybe basis of age, or maybe on the basis of education. So that would be our strata. So a demographic profile of population is selected, but these characteristics are representative in proportion as they are found in wider population. So now proportionality, we have a strata on the basis of education, on the basis of income. So in other words, population is divided into subgroups, and then a non-random cell observation is selected as per the quota, right? Then we have snowball sampling. In an investigation or research problem which is niche and very difficult to find people or experts, those who can explain the subject matter. In such design, each respondent, after being interviewed, is then asked to refer to others who possess similar characteristics and who in turn identify others. Right. So, for example, you go to some tourist place and you want to know about the local different places you would like to visit. So it's not possible that technically each and everybody can explain these places, so you would be needed few agent or representative, and these representative know each other. So if you come to this place, we have one person who knows everything about that particular place. Now if you want to go to second place, he will refer that you talk and meet to that person. He knows everything about that particular place. He will, tell you the importance of that particular place. So you need to find out that who would be the right person. And there may be some cases, for example, case study, writing a case study, discussion of a case study in a classroom. You will see that not many teachers, they are interested in teaching with the help of case study. So you need to find out the right person. That right person, he would be knowing that who others is teaching with the help of case study. So here it is on the basis of a reference, and they got a such kind of expertise. They know how to teach with case study, how to write case study, how to read case study. So similarly, if you have different cases, different research objective, different research problem, different purposes, and you see there is a dearth of expert, and you don't have these kind of expert in these subject matter, so you need to find out on the basis of reference, then you can investigate. For example, drug culture among young student, inside trading, or cyber hackers. So these are very few people, and those who are taking drug, they will not disclose it. So you need to find out right person, and he or she can refer that, okay, now you can create, chain. This method is useful where access is difficult because topic is sensitive. Mm, like there was another case. I forgot the name. Surrogacy. Yeah, surrogacy is another kind of issue in India. So that could be if you want to study a woman in case of surrogacy, right? Her psychological, perception, motivation, right, or need. So it would be very difficult because nobody will talk about it, but it's very important now, social issue, especially in some area. Maybe I'm not sure about which state, but these things are emerging. So as a social scientist, if you want to study this matter, surrogacy, then you need to find out one person. Then one person may give you a reference that, okay, this is another person who has been into this. but it's very sensitive issue, right? So snowball sampling is also known as network, chain referral, reputational, and respondent driven sampling. Snowball is kind of network which begin with small and become big as move further. So you have one person who is in surrogacy, then slowly they will disclose. So now you will create one person, 2% will talk about three, 3% will talk about another two. So like this you can create a chain. And here community power and decision making can be studied with the help of snowball sampling. So now we have come to end today. So fourth unit we have completed, not completed, we still have one class to finish your fourth unit. Then in two more classes we will be able to cover your fifth unit, right? So